Dopamine, it's not just that feel-good spark we're used to, right? It's like also tuning us in to avoid bad stuff, sort of like learning from a near miss with a hot stove,
Mm,
huh?
yeah, exactly. And what's wild is that the study from Northwestern shows how dopamine responses in two different areas of our brain handle negative experiences in different ways.
Right. So in the ventromedial shell of the nucleus accumbens, dopamine levels actually rise when an unpleasant event happens, but then with learning, they start to respond more to a warning cue before eventually fading when the outcome is successfully avoided.
Yeah, interesting. And then in the core of the nucleus accumbens, dopamine goes down during both the warning and the event. And that decrease gets more pronounced as the subjects, in this case, mice, get better at avoiding the negative outcome, correct?
Exactly. It's like a two-pronged approach, you know? In one area, dopamine is ramping up early on for the bad event and then shifting to the cue. And in the other area, it's actually decreasing, which sort of reinforces the idea of avoiding those dangerous situations.
That makes sense. It's really fascinating because it shows that dopamine is more complex than just being the reward molecule. But doesn't that also imply that if the environment suddenly becomes unpredictable, these signals might flip back to an earlier pattern?
Absolutely. When the outcome becomes unavoidable, the dopamine pattern in these regions reverts to what it was earlier in the learning process. It's like the brain is saying, hey, this situation is out of my control, and shifts back to a more instinctive, less refined
Yeah, that's
response.
super interesting, right? And that then might tie into why some people end up with overactive avoidance behaviors, like in anxiety or OCD, because their dopamine system overestimates danger, right?
Exactly. It's like this delicate balance. The system is supposed to help us learn when to steer clear of harmful experiences, but if it's too sensitive, it might lead to excessive avoidance.
Now, here's a point I want to challenge a bit. The study seems to indirectly critique the whole dopamine detox trend. But isn't it a stretch to say that because dopamine has nuanced roles, a detox is simply too simplistic?
That's a fair point. I mean, the study really emphasizes that dopamine isn't just the feel good neurotransmitter, it's crucial for learning from both good and bad outcomes. So, while a detox might help reset overexposure in some cases, completely cutting dopamine out could actually be harmful since it's needed for normal adaptive behavior.
Yeah, that's a solid critique. And this nuance helps explain why different people learn to avoid danger in their own ways. Some might be more prone to overestimating threats because of how their dopamine circuits are wired.
Exactly, and it pushes us to think more critically about neurological interventions for conditions like anxiety or depression. Imagine tailoring treatments based on how these dopamine signals are functioning in different brain areas.
That's a great takeaway, for sure. It's like our brain is a master of balance, learning from every experience, good or bad. And if that balance tips too far, it can really impact quality of life.
Right, the study opens up a whole avenue for understanding psychiatric conditions through the lens of such dynamic dopamine signaling. And honestly, it just makes you appreciate the complexity of our brains even more.
Yeah, absolutely.